Alright guys, so here we have today my mini Super Cub and my Super Cub DSM, and I'm going to show you a couple modifications that I've done to each one, and then I'm going to give a review about them, which is kind of something that I've never done before. So okay, first of all, we're going to start off on the mini Super Cub. I've learned on this plane which is why it's all beat up. I tried painting on this plane to see if it can handle it, and it flies great. Even though I've beat the hell out of it, you can tell. I mean, I have made a custom landing gear and all kinds of weird things, but beat the hell out of this plane, and definitely learned how to fly on this plane. And you know, they say that you should get the mini Super Cub to learn on as a trainer plane, but the Super Cub DSM is also a trainer plane. But I mean, you can look at the size of this thing. This thing is just massive compared to the mini Super Cub, and I would definitely recommend getting the mini Super Cub first, just because, you know, it's cheaper and you can see if you want to get in the hobby or if it's just not for you. Alright, so a few things that I've done to this plane is, as you can see, I've painted the plane, and I wanted to see if it was made the plane too heavy. And I live in Washington, and sometimes we have some crazy winds, and the heavier paint actually flies better in the wind than the stock wing that came with it. But both planes are made out of a high quality Z foam, so if you bust it, it's really easy to fix. As you can see here in the tail, I don't know if you can see it all that well, I have cracked it across. So sorry, I'm using my cell phone. I've actually cracked it all the way across right here, and just used a little bit of glue and then taped it up, and it's like nothing ever happened to it. Still flies straight, still flies true. I did break the landing gear on it, and I thought it was super cheesy anyway, so I just bent a coat hanger and I put big wheels on it, because I'm landing in about 2-inch grass and weeds and dirt. Same thing with the little tail wheel back here. I just took 3 paper clips and I bent them, 2 in the rear and 1 in the front. And, you know, it's nothing pretty, but it does its job. It protects the tail when landing. But, that's the mini Super Cub. Now let's come over here and look at the receiver. Or the transmitter, sorry. Now this plane, the mini Super Cub, as you can see, I've cracked it many times and used popsicle sticks and duct tape to keep it straight and keep it true, and I've never had a problem with it. But this remote, I do not like. It is a good starter plane, but as you can see, the throttle is spring-loaded. So if you're flying at full throttle and your thumb slips as you're taking a turn, the power just cuts out. So it's definitely, I think they should take the time and remove the spring at least, because that is really almost turned me off from buying the plane in the first place. Okay. Now this transmitter is a FM radio transmitter, so you do notice some interference with the mini Super Cub. And this is the little battery it comes with. 7.4 volt, 300 milliamp hour lithium polymer battery. Very small, very lightweight, but it just does not put enough power out. So I actually use 7.4 volt, 800 milliamp batteries, and they actually fit in this battery bay just perfect. Just perfect. I've had zero problems. You have to modify the box a little bit, but I cut out a little piece of foam, about, you know, nothing to even notice. And the 800 milliamp hour battery just fits in there perfect, and you get 20 minutes of flight time out of that instead of about 5 with the original battery. Now, let's look at the Super Cub DSM that I have recently purchased. Now let's start off by this plane comes with a 480 brushed motor. And I was reading about it online, and a lot of people upgrade to brushless. But this plane has so much power, and I only have this one battery, 11.1 volt, 1300 milliamp hour lithium polymer battery, 15C continuous discharge and 20C burst. And I fly for a half an hour, and I'm still not even. I still don't have a dead battery. I can still do rolling takeoffs off the ground and land perfectly. I mean, this plane is just outstanding for trainers. Now, this plane has, I believe, a 47-inch wingspan. So you can see, compared to the mini Super Cub, it's just, just enormous. Just enormous compared to the mini Super Cub. And even the length of the two planes, it's just enormous. And this extra size gives it much more lift. The wing is thick. It's a thick wing, and it has a lot of lift, and it's just got a lot of power. And I'm never going to upgrade the motor. Just by flying this one, if you start on the mini Super Cub and then you upgrade to the DSM, you're going to notice a huge power increase. And I probably never will upgrade to the brushes just because I don't think I'll ever need it. Now let's get into some of the modifications that I've done to this plane. It's not much. But here, let's take off the wing here. Oh, sorry. And then let's show you. Put the rubber bands over here. So that's all that holds on the wing besides the struts. But the part that I wanted to show you was this piece right here. A lot of people want to modify this piece because when you're flying and you crash on the wing, you're going to hit the wing in certain areas. And what it does is it puts pressure on this back piece of foam right here that is lifted. And it takes chunks out of this right here. And you won't be able to repair that. You have to buy a new fuselage once those little pieces of foam start getting missing. So what I did is, I unfortunately have a chewing problem, and what I do is I took the top metal piece off my Grizzly wintergreen can and I cut that out just perfect. And so, it's just a thin piece of metal, but every time that wing, if I ever do crash, I haven't told you guys this yet, I have not crashed the DSM, and I've crashed the mini Super Cub many, many, many times. But with the DSM, I have about 30-40 flights in it, and I have not crashed it once. It's so much more stable. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, so I just glued that on there with some nice, sorry, a little corner edge there. Nice super glue, foam safe super glue. And that's that. Haven't had a problem with that. And then one thing I like to do before you fly the plane, and I absolutely think this is a must-do for anybody who flies, and that's not even a modification. I took a Sharpie marker and I dotted the wing, and I dotted on the plane. So what happens is, if you were to crash, you just line up these two in the rear, and then you can look down in the front. And I messed up on the first one, but these two corner ones, you line those two little dots up on the wing and the fuselage. So now if you're in the field and your wing's a little bit turned and you don't notice it and you take off, you don't have to land it and fix it. You can just look down before you fly. Small adjustment there. Small adjustment there. And you're ready to go. Wing is perfectly straight, and you'll never have a problem besides in-air trimming. Okay, now this plane also has, let me flip it over here, built-in wing struts to protect the wing. So when you're coming down at it from a nosedive and you pull up, these struts actually pull on the middle of the battery box and fuselage here. So when you're coming down too fast, this will actually pull up, and those wing struts will hold it from going any further. So you'll never have to worry about snapping a wing, you know. So flip this back over here. And I mean, a couple other things that I've done is I put bigger wheels on. Those are 2.5-inch foam wheels. I don't remember the exact brand. Picked them up at my local hobby store, and they're all over online. But they work absolutely great. I can take off and land in, you know, 2-inch grass. Well, you know, mainly dirt with a little bit of grass. I have no problem in any kind of gravel. And they just work perfect. They work amazing on concrete. So I would definitely recommend upgrading the wheels on that. I also upgraded the little tail wheel. I think it's about an inch and a quarter. Little tail wheel there. And then the diameter of the hole in the tail wheel was a little bit too small, so I took a Dremel tool and I just drilled it out a little bit. And so you can see there's very little play, hardly any, and you know, and it spins good. It tightens down all the way, so this is a definite thing that I would recommend doing. Now the little, I think they're called clevises, that hold on to the, I believe it's the, I don't know, I'm not very good at this stuff, but they go inside the little horn here, and then they just collapse into it, and then you push this little plastic rubber band, and it keeps it tight, as compared to the mini Super Cub, where you have these little metal pieces, and you have to run this left side metal piece through the pusher rod, and then you tighten it down with this little knob here. And this is one of about 4 that I've broken. You tighten it too tight, the arm that's connected to the actual knob here, the knob breaks off of the horn, so it stays completely tightened on the servo, or on the push rod here. So I had to flip this little control horn around. It used to come down at an angle like this. I had to just undo it and flip it around just so I could avoid this little piece here that I have. And so this is a definite upgrade from the mini Super Cub and the setup that they used. Okay, now the remote is a 2.4 gigahertz DX4E Spectrum transmitter, and this is one of the remotes that have it's a 4-channel remote. So if you ever upgrade to ailerons, or you put ailerons on the DSM, it fully supports it. But the remote, I like this remote because the elevator, you can push it up a little bit full throttle, then you can take your thumb off of it and keep that throttle speed. Pull it down a little bit, and it stays there. Now the right side has your rudder, left and right, and it has your elevator, up and down. It also has your, see if I can focus in on here. Come on, focus. Alright, sorry about that. So your focus is here, and it's a high-low rate. So you can actually flip this switch, so when you're making your adjustments and when you're flying in the air, it actually controls less of the plane. I think it says it's about 70%. So if you turn full throttle, it's only actually going to turn, I'm sorry, if you go full rudder to the left, it's only going to turn the actual rudder here 70%. As to if you flip it over too high, then you have 100%. So if you're learning to fly, I would definitely recommend putting this on low. That way you don't over adjust when you're coming in and then you bank right and then hit the ground. So I would definitely start off on the low, but once you get more advanced and you understand what you're doing, you just flip it over to high. On the left side here, you have your ACT and it's called anti-crash technology, but I refer to it as the automatic crash technology because you know, it just doesn't work that great, so I just flipped it off and don't have to worry about it again. And I've also unplugged it from inside the plane here. That way I never have to worry about it actually turning on and messing up my flight. Now let me think. Other things. This is actually Velcro because I have a little camera that I picked up on eBay for $13 and I stuck it on there and I fly around with it, and it's a little 5 megapixel, nothing special, but you know, it works. So I got some cool aerial videos. Let me flip this back over. I got the rubber bands off. But other than that, guys, so my review is I do like the Super Cub. I think it is a perfect trainer plane. It set me up to fly perfectly on the larger size Super Cub DSM. So I would definitely recommend buying the mini Super Cub first. It's really cheap. I picked it up for $69. Ready to fly. And then when you guys want to advance, the Super Cub DSM is definitely the way to go. Plenty of power, plenty of lift, much more time in the air flying with the larger battery, and it's just an awesome plane, and I plan on buying a couple more probably in the future if this one ever breaks. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more reviews and more videos. Thank you.